mission to talk about using your favorite character in every event. On the Japanese server, I did this with Dobear. However, she's actually relatively easy to do this with. The big trouble with raising for every event is doing events of the bad surface type. So dirt in this case. When you have to raise both surface and distance aptitudes, the parenting becomes quite strict. As of right now on the Japanese server, we've never had sprint or long dirt events. So on dirt events, I can just focus on raising the dirt aptitude, and the mile or medium is already there. Let's look at someone who doesn't have that luxury, Manhattan Cafe. A dirt mile event will be very difficult to raise her for, as she lacks aptitude for both surface and distance. Even in our best case scenario with perfect parents, we need 6 pink triggers to reach the competitive aptitudes. Well, not exactly. You can go up by 2 grades from 1 trigger with a lucky roll, but the chances of that happening aren't well understood. The base chance of an aptitude increasing is 5% per inheritance event. This is increased linearly based on your compatibility with the parent. So, having high compatibility parents is extremely important for these difficult tracks. We can check what parents our girl is most compatible with on Gametora. Switch to the Japanese server, then go to the compatibility tool. Pick your girl, then click recommend. You may want to consider pulling for 1 or 2 of these high compatibility parents. But of course, we don't want just any parent, we'd prefer if they had a useful unique too. Before we can determine who would be a useful parent, we have to determine what styles we can run as. This largely comes down to their unique, and somewhat their aptitudes. Cafe's unique needs her to be from 4th to 6th. That's not usable for a frontrunner, but the other styles can all work, so we have a lot of flexibility. We can be a pace chaser in mile tracks that favor them. Or we can be an end closer in long tracks. If nothing else works, gambling as a late surger is always viable. You could also look at any alternate costumes the character has. In this case, the Valentine's one is specialized as a long end closer. But that one is very far away. Sometimes future buffs could also change things. In this case, they're just straight upgrades. I'll leave links in the description to where you can see these changes. Now we can filter out the bad parents from the list. To do this with your own favorite character, go to the ref doc. It's not that scary, I promise. Click this link at the top that says Future Site. Then, 1 page down is a list of most of the notable parents. If you don't see a character here, you can probably ignore them as a parent. Here's the filtered list with some notes. At this point, you can pick according to your tastes. On top of the high compatibility parents, the strong parents for the style can also be considered. But you could just rent them in most cases. To go really deep into it, you can look at grandparent compatibility, but most of the same characters will be showing up in these lists anyway. You might also want to think about pulling for cards specific to your character's strategy. But this is only if you're really fully committed to this character alone. After all, you could just pull the generic cards, and then borrow the specific cards. This will generally be better until we reach the point where styles need multiple specific cards. Let's look at an example track, a Mile Champions meeting. On this track, Dobear triggers too early. Nishi knows triggers perfectly, so the reworked Taiki also does. This is a track where we would want to be a pace chaser, with those 2 as parents. We can fill in the grandparents with high compatibility options and useful uniques. 2 of the grandparents need pace chaser pinks to raise our aptitude. And because we're a pace chaser, we don't want to be too far forward. Our other 2 team members can be frontrunners, to make it easier for our cafe to be 4th and use her unique. How? To set expectations properly, you won't be able to get extremely high win rates with your favorite character alone. It will vary from character to character, but there will usually be some tracks where you simply have nothing going for you. If your favorite is Bourbon, you might actually get a high win rate on almost every track with her alternate costume. If your favorite is Urara, be happy for each win you manage to get. But you can get wins, and it feels good to win with your favorite character. If you go down this path, good luck and have fun.